So this is season 2.
Okay.
That we kicked off season 2 last week. So you're
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a little while. It's been a journey.
Yeah.
But we made it.
We made it, yeah. And I was actually, throughout season 1, we were putting together lists of people that we wanted to bring onto the podcast. And there's quite a few people in London that I think, have a really strong creative mindset and do some really cool creative things. And you're definitely high on that list of the list that I was putting together of people I wanted to bring on. Just, it's unique, right? Like the dancing piece. I don't think a lot of people, when you think when you think creatives and you think of DJs maybe, or you think of artists, but you don't always go right to like dancing. But I feel like you've really kind of created a cool space in London for people to have that creative outlet with dance. And not to say that there's not other dance studios that do it, but you do it in, I feel, a little bit more like creative way. So that was one of the reasons we wanted to bring you on. So
Thank you.
I don't want to monopolize the mic though, because I know, Paul, you don't know Cynthia as well as I do. So
We've chatted.
Yeah, we've chatted. But
we almost bumped into each other when we were all doing salsa one night.
True.
I missed you guys salsaing.
Yeah. But I'm sure you probably have more questions for Cynthia than I do, just to try to like figure out what's going on there.
Yeah.
So I'll let you take
Do you do
it
this full time?
No, I think now at this point it's probably half movement dance and half coaching.
Okay.
So I own both businesses, and in terms of like my dance practice, and they kind of go together in a certain way. We can get into like how that was built, which is, which I never expected. Like I think I love that about the creative world. We never know where it's going to lead. Like I'm sure you guys feel the same. Like when you enter the creative, you have to go with the flow. And so I do it's probably half and half right now. And so in like my dancing, I do, right now, like I'm holding a residency. So I have a grant and I'm facilitating a movement performance. I always call it an experience because we're just storytelling through movement. And that's actually how I fell in love with the creative process. Was in 2019 when I did my first facilitation of a professional movement performance, but it's very much storytelling because there's a lot that we can't say with words that we can really, really say in the terms of like how we're holding ourselves and we can do through movement. So that's part of it. Some of it is just one-on-one coaching. I do a lot of sensual movement and heels and things for women and one-on-ones for women to like really step back into their bodies and tap into their sensuality and feel good in their bodies again, especially for moms, right? We go through huge changes after we've had kids. And so I have a lot of women that come to me for one-on-one coaching to just start to feel like themselves again or fall back in love with their own bodies. And that changes everything. That changes the way you walk through the world, right? So that's a lot of my coaching. And then, I don't know, gigs that we'll do. So there's just like different parts of the dance world. It's like there's just different sides of it that are completely different. And I think that that's what I love about being a creative is that we're never fully boxed in.
Yeah.
It's not like you go to school for something and then that's what you're doing. It's like,
absolutely not.
What can I do with this skill set?
Yeah.
And you kind of take the opportunity.
And it leads you. Like I never thought, as a kid, like my dream was to be a professional dancer, but that's the limiting belief that we have, right? So like you can't make money doing the thing that you love. Like that's impossible. It has to be doing ABC. And so I think once I actually cleared that belief, that's actually when I started making money or being able to create a life through movement. But I never expected it to lead to, professional storytelling and fringe festivals and grants and traveling and music videos and producing. It was just like it just continued to kind of spiral into a bunch of different things. And I think it's my favorite thing because it never gets boring. Right?
Yeah, for sure. So let's kind of rewind all the way back to, I heard the word school. So that's our connection. So
yes.
we went to high school together, and we had a very, very small school.
Which high school?
Cynthia Aguiar. So very, very small school, French high school, from grade 7 to grade 12, maybe 300 students.
Yeah, at the time.
Yeah,
and I love how you said it in French. I said it in English. I'm so embarrassed. I'll say Monseigneur Aguiar, not Monseigneur Briere. Like I just said it, but yeah.
Yeah, so maybe like 300 students. So I vividly recall, almost every day it felt like you'd walk by and Cynthia would be there with her clan of like people like practicing for an assembly or whatever, right? Throughout all of high school, really, right? Because you were 1 grade older than us, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
1 year older. So she was like kind of like the dance guru, even at that time. You know, everyone kind of looked up to Cynthia for kind of dance coaching, and like she would like lead the routines and stuff. So my question for you, because in high school, like we knew of each other, but we didn't really like hang out that much. What was kind of that period between kind of obviously being passionate about dance at that time, and then from there into, you know, where you are now, what did that journey kind of look like? You know, it sounds like maybe you went to school for more like something more traditional, and then kind of pivoted back, but I'm interested to kind of hear about that little gap.
Yeah. That's so interesting, first of all, that you saw me as like the person who was a dancer in high school, because I don't remember having necessarily that identity. Like I did, but I don't think I noticed that other people noticed. You know what I mean? Which is so cool. So I thank you for saying that. I love that. I do remember, so, you know, I was a gymnast growing up, and then I went to dance and I fell in love. Like they could not get me out of the studio. It was like, I just loved it. I wanted to be there every single day, and I did competitive and did all the studio things. And then, you know, in high school, I kind of slowed down dance for a little bit. I kind of went through like a hard time. Like my grades weren't super great, and I was like less interested in the things that I loved. You know, you go through that phase, and more interested in, I don't know, hanging out and doing whatever. But I was still dancing at school. And then I remember it was actually, I think I had graduated and I came back. So maybe this is what you're remembering, because we had, I think it was your grade. I think Ariel was in your grade, Ariel Kayabaga.
Oh, no, she was a grade either the year before me or 2 years under me.
Okay. So, but there was like that group, and I decided, you know what, I'm doing a OAC. We didn't really have OAC, but I was going to do like
Grade
a victory
13,
lap, and I was going to come back and I was going to do a big dance show. I just decided, you know what, I want to go back into dance. I love it. And so I think there were like 30 kids in this show, and here I am facilitating this entire dance recital with the school. And I'm saying Ariel Kayabaga because she was in it. And I remember we did the I Believe dance. It was from the movie Honey. Anyway, and I was so obsessed. And so we started, and it was the first show that I put on, and I, like in that moment, I was like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Like, you just know. So I actually went to Fanshawe the next year, and I got a business diploma. I went 2-year program, business diploma, because I went to open my own dance studio. But I realized that like a lot of it is business. It's less dance.
For sure.
And so I finished it, and I was like, what do I really want to do? And I really did love psychology at the time. So I went to school. I actually went to Simon Fraser for a year in Vancouver, and went and did my psych courses there. And
so you actually went to Vancouver?
I went to Vancouver for a year.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
And during this time, I actually stopped dancing.
Okay.
And I remember wanting to take classes in Vancouver because there was a really cool dance school there. And I was too scared to go because I was like, I'm not good enough anymore. And back in the day, and this is really important too in terms of like the dance industry now that's really changed, is back in the day, after you were done at like a studio, so you're like 17, 18, you either go professionally or you're done. You don't get
like when you say
anymore.
studio, you mean like a dance extreme?
Yeah, exactly, like a dance studio. And you either go to Toronto, LA, New York, whatever, and you become a professional dancer, or you don't. Your dance career is over. There was no hiring dancers at 25, 26, 27 and up. It was like you were done.
And then TikTok was born.
And then TikTok was born. Yeah. Oh, honestly. Yeah, maybe. And Periscope will change the world. She's one of the top choreographers. And really, she's done so much. Like all of the Super Bowl dances you've seen are probably Periscope, and she really made dance.
And she's a TikToker?
No, she's not even.
Oh, okay.
But she changed the dance world. Look her up. Royal family. She's incredible.
Okay.
And but so I actually stopped dancing, but I felt like there was something missing. Like I always had to like stop watching So You Think You Could Dance and anything that involved dance because it made me sad. But I didn't know how to get back into it. And I was teaching dance in like studios, but I wasn't dancing. So anyways, fast forward, I go to Simon Fraser for a year. I decided to come back to London because my dad was sick at the time. He's great now, but I wanted to be closer to family, and Vancouver was far, and it rains a lot. And I was like, I need to come home. So I went to Western, did a double major in psych and French, and then went to Teachers College. And
you
I was
have
like,
done so much school.
I did so much school, and then went to Teachers College and became a teacher. So I was actually an educator for 12 years. Yeah. And
did you teach at Mont Saint Brieuc?
I did for 12 years.
Fuck, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So her mom was the vice principal when I was at Mont Saint Brieuc. And all your friends are there. Like, isn't Sarah Faubert the principal?
She's the vice principal.
Oh, she's the
There's
VP.
a lot, like CJ. There's a lot of us that went back and
in
teach there.
In that band, right? Like in
Yes.
those, like that band of like 2-3 years, like a lot of people like went and got their teacher's
Yep.
degree and went back
We
there.
just went back.
I know,
don't
it's so weird.
It must be a
And-
good school if everyone wants to come back and work there after.
It was pretty like it's a very tight knit community, right? The
Yeah.
francophone community
Yeah.
is very tight knit,
Yeah.
especially if you stay within it, right?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
And I mean, at the time, honestly, it was hard to get a job as a teacher, but we were
Was.
French.
Yeah.
And so you're getting a job right away,
Yeah.
right? And so I was really lucky. I got out of teacher's college and already had a permanent position. I was teaching grade 8. And so, but I wasn't dancing. And so I started like a dance club after school with my students and loved it. But I wasn't dancing and I was really struggling. And actually something incredible happened because I think we always think that sometimes our kids will come into the world and then you have to actually drop what you love, right? For me, it was actually the opposite. My daughter's the reason in some weird way that I got back into dance. And the reason was, you know, when she was born, I told my principal, you know, like I want to transfer to my daughter's school when she, you know, gets older. So I want to go to Frere Andre, which is the elementary school. And he really wanted me to stay. He didn't want me to lose me as a teacher. He said, what if I create a dance academy for you at the school? And I was like, I'm listening. Tell me more. And so he was like, go get your teachables for dance because you could be a dance educator. And dance is actually part of the curriculum. And so he said, get that and I'll start a dance academy. We're doing a hockey academy and we'll do a dance academy. So I was like, okay, you have my attention. So I did. And I went to Toronto to become a dance educator and I got my certificates. But within that, I connected with some people in the dance industry. And then I found O&E Dance Center in London, which is a drop-in dance studio for adults. And I remember calling and being like, can I come dance here? Like, you know, because I think at the time I was like 29. I was like, I'm 29, I'm old. Not old, but at the time I thought I was old. And you don't dance at that age. It was like a faux pas, you know? And especially as a mom, I was like, there's no moms that are taking dance classes, that are taking like hip hop and booty work and contemporary. Like it just didn't really exist at the time. And so I remember the owner, Mike, being like, no, this is an adult drop-in studio. So yes, you can come. You are not too old. And so I went, and then I never left. That's how I connected with the community. That's how I got back into dance. And O&E Dance Center is really the reason I'm dancing again. And my daughter in that weird, you know, beautiful way to get me back into it. Then I joined a professional dance company, and then it continued after that. And then it just snowballed.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's a really concise way to like capture however many years that was, 15 years of trajectory. One thing that I want to kind of stop at, and I heard you say that, I think probably a lot of entrepreneurs have gone through it, is this feeling like you have a kid and it almost gives you a different purpose, right? And for me, it was very similar, right? Like I was working, and I still am in the corporate world, but I was working in a corporate job, making, you know, a healthy income, you know, for all intents and purposes, from an outsider looking in, I had no reason to jump into entrepreneurship. But then, you know, my daughter was born, and in that flux of everything, I was like, kind of like dawned on me. I was like, I want to show her what I'm capable of. Right. And you know, you can do that in the corporate world, not to say that you can't. And I'm not trying to say that that path isn't like as worthy. But I also wanted to kind of prove to myself that I could do these challenging things, like start a business, like do something creative and have these different outlets and just see where I can take it, so that when she gets older, she can kind of see whatever I've built, as long as it's still around, and be either, you know, be a part of it, or, you know, be like, okay, I can do this maybe off the traditional path type of stuff as well, and it's okay. That's a viable option, right?
I've seen it the other way though, like not from my perspective. I don't
Yeah.
have a kid, but just a lot of friends who have had kids are like, no, I can't do anything else except for stick with my job because it's a safe option.
Well, yeah, and it is, right? But then you become, if you have this internal urge, like it sounded like you did, like you're like, I just want to dance. I've always had this, I'm meant for something more. I'm meant to have this creative outlet, this outlet to be an entrepreneur. I've always felt like I was a natural salesperson, but I wasn't in sales. So I was like, I need to explore these and create these outlets for myself. You become like unhappy, right? I didn't want to wake up like 10 years down the road and be like, fuck, I just burnt 20 years in the corporate world and for what, right? Like to, you know, to have a nice title, you know? So like, I think that think there's a lot of value in just like listening to your heart.
I think so. And I think, and like, thank you for sharing. I think you're right that people are going to go back because they get scared. I think there's some fear that comes with that, with the entrepreneur life, because it isn't steady necessarily. It isn't just linear. It's very much up and down. It's very much, I always say, like, your business is almost like breath. I think everything is breath. I could go into that, but like as a movement facilitator, of course, I'm going to like, right.
Welcome back to that.
Yeah. But I think there's a few things. I think it's also okay if you want to go back to your 9 to 5 because that feels good for you. It's like, how does all of that just feel in your body? Does it feel aligned? And then if it's like, it doesn't feel aligned and there's this craving for more and for that entrepreneur life and that creativeness, and then it's also listening to that. So I've also seen both sides, and I feel like they're both equally incredible as long as you're listening to your body and making sure that it's aligned, because it's still very, very expensive to go to work every day if you hate it. Doesn't matter how much money you're bringing in, that's expensive because energetically you're not at a profit. You're actually at a deficit.
You're wasting so much human capital.
Yeah. Right? You're just not, and it's not, and your kids feel that. Like, kids are very sensitive to energy. And so if you can find a way to do the things that you love and show them that, like, this is possible, if that's aligned for you, that's going to be such a powerful lesson for them to see.
Yep.
And for myself, but there's a lot of fear that comes with that. And there's a lot of beliefs, right? That we clear to allow ourselves to then be able to lean into that life, because, your thoughts are going to determine, the outcome. Every thought is a prayer. And if you're thinking this is impossible, it's going to be impossible.
And it's okay to live in the gray, right? Like that's something that I've had to learn to accept in these last few years of doing everything. There's a lot of hours spent, but it's okay to not be fully ready to make the transition either, right? So like I'm still in the middle, even though I like talk a big game about like, go be an entrepreneur. I'm still fucking in the middle, right? Like I'm like, I haven't made the jump yet.
And that's great. I feel like that's so great.
I think to your point, I have to feel aligned to make that jump. I have people on both sides of the equation. So I have people in my life that are like a lot more risk averse that are saying, oh, go back to the consistency. You don't want to lose this, right? And then I have other people in my life now that I'm in the entrepreneurial game that are like, you won't really know until you make the jump. Like
make the jump.
I know you have to make like Paul, right? Like you have to make the jump. If you don't make the jump, you'll never know. But I have to be ready to do that.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And you don't want to get to a point where you've done it prematurely and then you feel like the timing wasn't right. So like I'm really waiting for and I know you say
you have more at risk.
There's never going to be a great time to do it, especially when you got kids in the picture and everything, right?
Yeah,
but
that's exactly.
Yeah.
I totally get that. I did the jump. I was forced into the jump, so I was almost like, it was like either you go and sit down for a long time, or we're pushing you off the cliff. And I can speak a little bit to that experience, but there is something about taking that leap. I think energetically there's something about it, but it needs to come from you. It needs to come from an aligned space, but there is definitely something when that does happen that comes with that. And it's like, I don't know if you guys have read, like 10X is easier than 2X.
Yep.
It's brilliant because it talks a little bit about this, about like making the jump and going all in, and then delegating the things that aren't aligned with you or aren't things that necessarily are good at or wanting to do. But I think that, it has to come from you, and everyone's journey is going to be, and that's why we have Unique Femme. It's everyone's journey is going to be completely different.
Like, I mean, if I was 25 again and I was in the same kind of dilemma, I would have made the jump, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because, okay, at that time, maybe I lose my house, but I can get another house, right? But do I want to put my little girl and my wife through that at this stage, at this juncture in the game? That feels selfish to me if I were to do that, unless I had like 100% buy-in from my wife, which I don't. So like I'm not there yet, right? So I think she supports me making the jump when the time is right, and I think we both feel like the time just isn't right.
Yeah, and you'll like know when you know.
Yeah, I think I'll know when I know, and I don't want to force it either, right?
Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was, I remember trying to make the decision in terms of like going back to teaching, because mine was, I had a car accident, I had a brain injury. It was like this whole, I was really struggling, and I can't couldn't be in the classroom anymore. I was actually doing special ed, but it comes with some dangers, you know. You're working with kids with special needs, and and just being in the school environment was not conducive. And it was like, but I'm like a creative. I'm like a go-getter. Like I love. Like if I'm doing something I love, I have unlimited energy. It's also like my human design, which we're kind of into, and so going back to work and only being able to work kind of part-time and not being able to do any of the other things that I loved was just not an option. And so it was like with my medical team, I was like, either I build a business with a concussion, which logically doesn't make sense, but it made sense, you know, it was aligned, or I try going back to work. And so that's what I did. And so I kind of jumped into that, but it was really scary, especially as like a single parent, with a mortgage and all these things. It was like, this is a little risky, but my way of making this, you know, a little bit safer was that I was able to, you know, I had a medical team behind me that was saying like, give her a year to see if she can build a business according to her own, you know, capacity.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't necessarily quitting my job. It was just, I was taking a year of vacation to try and do something else to see if this would be better and more aligned with my own symptoms and capacity at the time. And it was. And so, same thing. It was a jump, but in a different way, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe just kind of switching gears a little bit. It's funny the way that we reconnected was, you know, after you created your business with La Compagnie de Danse, well, I had created Billy Bière.
Yes.
And then I was like, fuck, another company that's got a French name. I was like, that nobody can probably say.
Yeah.
So,
No, they can't.
I still can't say it.
But they try. They
Yeah,
try.
they
It's
try really
good.
hard,
I've heard it all.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna reach out to Cynthia and let's have a coffee date and let's see if there's some compatible way that our businesses can work together, right? Because I mean, obviously, us being in events, you know, you never know when kind of you might need dancers, right?
Yeah.
So, and actually, we might this summer with Horizon Fest.
Yes.
We're talking about that. So, but actually, by the time this podcast comes out, we'll probably have announced Horizon Fest.
Yeah, probably.
So go check out Horizon
Not
Fest.
Yes.
So then we kind of started talking about, you know, our brands and our business. And after you and I connected, the funny thing is I realized there's like so many people from our high school, our very, very small high school, that own businesses and that are entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty wild. Like one of the DJs we work with who will be at Horizon Fest, Rhino, so Elvis.
Yes.
So he's a creative as well. He's a DJ.
Yeah, I've seen him at a few events where I was doing gigs, actually, I think. And I
Yeah.
had connected with like a few people, and I was just like, I know you and you and you. And I was like, I didn't realize you were a DJ, and we're all in the same industry, and it's wild.
And then
it's awesome.
Roberto and I, right?
That's right.
And then who else did I run into? You know Rim Jobs Meat Rubs?
Maybe
His name's Matt. Anyways, Matt was 2 years younger than us, so there's
Okay.
quite a big delta there.
Too
but
old for that one.
he's also kind of not necessarily in the event space, but he's an entrepreneur, owns his own business, and he's in the kind of food space. But it's crazy, like just in that band of people, like how many people are engaged in the entrepreneur community.
Yeah, it's
Which
awesome.
it feels like there's a lot of entrepreneurs in London, but once you get into the entrepreneur network in London, it's like pretty small. Yeah, it's pretty like tight knit, right? So.
It absolutely is. Even like every time you're talking about someone like Megan or like one of the girls that you have for Fail Fast.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I know her. Oh, I know her. Oh yeah, she came to my event to be connected in this way.
Wow.
I'm popular.
Let's turn this off.
You usually give us crap.
I know. Say that again.
No, it's
Start
just
from Megan.
so it's like when we talked about Megan or some of the women that you have on Fail Fast, I was like, oh, I know her, and I know Ariel, and
For sure.
it's so interesting. It is in the smallest city, but like you said, when you get into this community, you end up kind of knowing everyone, especially in this industry, I find.
And there are sub-communities that I found.
Yeah.
So interestingly, I feel like your vibe is really similar to Haley's. So Haley Ballard-Cook.
Oh, I love her.
Uplift Lifestyle.
Yes,
so
she's great.
We had her on the podcast. We had her at Fail Fast 1.
I remember. I remember that Fail Fast because I wanted to come. I forget.
Yeah.
I think I had a gig or something, but I didn't click into me that was her until like a week ago. And she was
Okay.
her and I spoke at the same event. We were
Yeah,
both
yeah.
speakers, and we connected. And she came over to my house the other day to do
Yeah.
a bit of a podcast, and we've been able to really connect. But
Yeah.
so sorry I cut you
Yeah,
off.
you
but
guys have similar vibes.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
interesting.
well, I think like just that sub community of really channeling like spirituality and you know, like really being in tune with like your body and you know what
Energy.
yeah, what energy
Yeah.
you're pulling, like all that kind of stuff, right? Like I feel like you, Haley, and then even to a certain extent Ariel, who's coming to the next Fail Fast.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Ariel Taylor, she's got her own practice, Carried with Love, which I feel like you guys are all kind of in like this. You're all entrepreneurs, but you're all in this like subcategory of entrepreneur, right? So like you start to kind of like tease that out too, right?
Yeah, I think we're really in tune with our feminine. I think that's like and energy. And Haley and I, the first time we met, we actually really did connect, because I remember I was doing my workshop and she was coming in a little bit later. And we looked at each other and hugged. And I was like, it was in the middle of my workshop. And I was like, do I know you? Like it felt like we knew each other. And she did her workshop right after mine, and they were very similar. It was a similar vibe, and I hadn't actually ever experienced somebody else doing something similar to what I did. And she was saying this, in hers, she was able to go a little bit deeper because they had already gotten into their bodies, and it was just a perfect complement to each other. And so we've definitely connected. She's a superstar.
And you must know the girl that runs She Will Rise.
She Will Rise.
It's the event next weekend. It's like 600, 700 women all getting together. It's a little bit more like religious, but it's a female event.
Is that next weekend? I feel like there's something. I don't know. There's so many of them.
Yeah,
So I probably
maybe.
do, but I don't know who.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But you know what? This is maybe a controversial topic. I kind of feel like you, Haley, a few others in that space where you're really channeling that like strong female energy from an entrepreneurial perspective, it becomes almost a competitive advantage. And hear me out. I think women are much more supportive of other women than men are of other men.
Yes.
So like we are naturally competitive animals, right? So as men, so it's harder to create a community of men than it is to create a really strong community of women. So whenever you get these like groups that get created, you are able to build like really strong loyalties to your brand much quicker. Is at least as an outsider looking in, that's kind of what I've noticed.
And I think what you're seeing there is the feminine frequency power, because from our feminine frequency, our power is actually community. That's actually how we're meant to create. It's actually how we're meant to do everything, right? So like think of like even women when they're mothers, like they're meant to raise kids in communities. Like that's how we're actually meant to rise. That's how we're meant to create, and it's by collaboration. So being a female leader or a leader who has a core feminine frequency, or their core essence is feminine, is going to lead from a place of community, from the collective. And then we also have access to like our intuition, and we're able to be soft within our businesses, but then it also takes that balance of being able to go into your masculine and reach your goals and strategy, and there is some of that as well. And so when you can kind of flow and have that kind of divine balance, I think you're right. I think that there is a bit of an advantage.
Well, there's a competitive advantage,
sense,
especially if you can be an entrepreneur and you can harness that. So you can identify, and then you can say, okay, I can actually monetize this, right? And I know that sounds almost dirty, right? To say, oh, I'm monetizing like the community that like we've created because like it's organic, but it's true, right? Like at the end of the day, you are a business person as well, right? And at least an observation I've had has been, guys can do it too, but they almost have to channel injustice in order to create community. So the guys that have done it well, that are able to kind of create a really strong community around their message and what they're like putting out there, are the Andrew Tates of the world. are the Donald Trumps of the world. They're standing up there on a pedestal and they're saying, this is what you're missing. This is, what they've taken from you. And then you get these men that rally around this idea of, I'm not being treated fairly or justly. But if you were to flip the message and say, and turn it into a positive, you could almost argue that they wouldn't be able to build that same community.
I think it comes from a different energy. I
Yeah.
think the divine masculine is going to be able to create a really powerful community with other men who are in touch with their divine, healthy masculine.
Yeah.
There's also an aspect of, in those spaces or in those leaders, they're definitely not, I wouldn't say that they're within their divine, healthy masculine. And so they are going to lead through fear. That's the lens that they're going to use. Okay. But if you look at your community, like you guys are a group of guys and you have really collaborated, and it's probably because you are connected to your divine masculine and you're making it in a different way. Yeah. And so I think, and what happens is that it is a balance. So even as, somebody who's a man identifies as a man, like you're going to be able to flow into your feminine sometimes too. That's going to be really important. It's going to be important for you guys to use your intuition and to leverage all of that. But I think what we're seeing is a difference between a divine masculine, which is actually, building and the collective frequency right now is the new age. That's where we're going. And so, but when we're looking at that, I don't think it's divine masculinity.
So you use that term a lot, divine masculine. Can you maybe just break it down a little bit more for like the audience that maybe have never heard that term before?
I think it's a sacred, grounded masculine. It's the healthy masculine. It's the energy that we're talking about. Whereas that's more of a conditioned masculine. That's what they've been taught we need to do to be masculine. Right.
It's almost like an unhealthy
because
like image of a masculine.
A masculine, stepping into your masculine is going to be being a strong container. It's going to be actually pushing your way through. It's going to be strategy. It's going to be goals. It's going to be like very goal oriented, but there's still like a collective community, and you could still be heart led as a male. And then find that balance. Whereas that's more of a conditioned masculine. That's probably not in touch with the real healthy masculine that we want to see and build.
So you're using a lot of terms that Haley used, like using the term container, right? That's got to come from somewhere. Like, who's kind of in this space of talking about masculine energy, female energy? Who's kind of the authority in the space that, because it feels like you guys have read from the same book, right? Is there like a go-to in terms of someone you've read that maybe have influenced some of your thoughts?
I can't speak to others. I can speak to myself. I went to school and became a certified life coach. Yeah. And so a lot of these practices do come from my schooling, the knowledge, and then working with mentors. I also have a spiritual mentor who is, she's the one that changed my life in every single way. And so I think it comes from these spaces. But when we're talking about the masculine and feminine, like every single, I've done the courses, I've gone to the retreats, I've listened to all of the, audiobooks. It's always how we're describing it. Yeah. But I do think that, being intentional with our language is important, but also my definition of a container could be different than your definition of container. And even in terms of my coaching, I think for us, it's just like anything that holds anything, right? Because even when I'm talking about my coaching containers, like it's a container, you're together in this space.
Sure. Yeah, I guess where I was going with that is like if you think of like psychology, you can point to a lot of the concepts that you have today, like Freud or like these big like pillars of psychology, right? Or like in any discipline, will have these kind of authorities that you can kind of point to, and I guess my question was in the realm of spirituality, is there that one kind of source of truth where like a lot of these concepts have like bridged from? I'm just more curious more than anything, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like, yes, could I name the exact names? Probably not, right? There's like Joe Dispenza and all these people, these famous people that we know that have created actually some of the terms. And I mean, Joe Dispenza, I mean, he's a researcher, he's a scientist. So I have people that I've learnt from, and a lot of these people, oh God, my favorite artist, like her name is escaping me. I feel like I'm going to look at my phone after and say it. I need to say it. But I'm like, what's her name? Something Miss, MYSS. But she's a researcher. She was a doctor and became an intuitive medical doctor. And so, they did a lot of research and they would use these types of terms. So there's people that it comes from, maybe necessarily. But in terms of just the industry, I think you kind of adopt those terms, honestly, as you hear them.
Yep.
And a lot of mine, definitely came from my spiritual mentor and from my schooling, which was a school in the UK.
Right.
When I became a certified life coach.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question.
My brain always goes, obviously, like I've got my background in history and stuff, right? So my brain always goes to, well, where did that come from?
Yeah,
like,
for
what's
sure.
the root of it, right?
Well, and I would even argue, like I did my specialization, actually, an honors specialization in psych, and I want to do master's in psychology. What I love about what I do now is that, it's more about raising the frequency or helping women specifically like reach their goals and kind of step more into their power by like honoring their unique gifts. Like what makes you unique, and like that's actually your gift, and how can you support yourself kind of in that way and build a life doing that. Whereas like psychology I loved, but I found, it was more around mental health, which is we need, those people to support anyone who all of us, actually, we all need to support our mental health. But I like this a little bit better. I find it like a little bit less heavy. But what I've struggled actually with that was that, I mean, the DSM, and maybe I don't know if I should be talking about this, but I'm just going to go with it because it feels like we're unfiltered. But the DSM, what we use to diagnose, is written by the pharmaceutical company.
DSM.
The DSM is like DSM-5, 6. It's like how we would, when I was in school, it was the DSM-5. That's like the book that tells you what the diagnoses are in terms of like psychology.
Yep.
What we're seeing now is that the pharmaceutical companies are writing these.
Right.
And so I had a lot of questions when I was in psych, being like, who's really writing this, right? And so we can ask ourselves that about everything. Like, who's really writing this?
Right.
And so I found that interesting. But in terms of the coaching industry, there's the ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation, which is regulated. And that's the school I went to. So I assume that some of them was passed down from that, but I find that interesting in terms of like even my schooling. Now I look back to what I learned and I question, like, where did that really come from?
At least you're questioning it.
I think that it's important to use our discernment for everything, right? And knowing that even if anyone tells you anything, like, what do you think? Like, we use your discernment. How does that feel for you? I feel like everything that somebody tells us should always just be an invitation.
Yeah, and I think that it's such an interesting topic because in the world we live in, where you're just getting tons of data thrown at you in sound bites. It's all sound bites, right? And quotes. You're getting one-liners everywhere that you turn. It's so easy to try to put yourself on a pedestal by regurgitating a one-liner that you heard 2 weeks ago on TikTok, right? It's like, okay, well, do you actually know the baseline of like that whole line of thinking? Or are you just taking a soundbite and trying to integrate that in some way and almost perverting the original ideology, right? Sure. So like, I would encourage people to, if you're interested in something that somebody has to say, well, do a little bit of a deeper dive and understand the entire kind of concept, and then understand where that concept came from, and then you can kind of introduce that to your line of thinking, right? Without just kind of like piecing together this weird puzzle of quotes. Yeah, right? Absolutely. And I'm guilty of it. Like, listen, like I love one-liners. I absolutely love them. So I'm guilty of taking them into my, into my verbiage and kind of spitting them out. But I still think you have to do your due diligence when it comes to thinking. Right?
Absolutely. I think as an educator, right? Like, that's what we were teaching our kids. Like, you question everything. Question everything. And you don't have to necessarily, and I always say, like, you don't have to challenge everything. You don't have to challenge everybody's thoughts. No. But just use discernment, question everything, and become curious. And even when we teach, like, for instance, I have somebody who teaches human design within my company. Human design, I won't go into it, but when she explains human design, it explains, you know, kind of based on your birthday, where you're born, and the time, a bit how you're designed to be kind of in this world, and how we're all very uniquely designed on purpose, right?
Very cool.
And it's
Are you like well adept at human design?
yeah. So
You're gonna have to do our human
I
design.
will.
Yeah.
It's honestly
on the podcast. We're gonna give you our date of birth,
mind-blowing.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And you know what? And then we're talking about Haley. Haley also has somebody in her coaching, under her coaching that does this too. So that was another thing that we had kind of in common. But this to me was actually, this was before I became a certified coach, that I kind of got into this, and I was like, but
So
it's
this would be like astrology almost.
Kind of, but there's actually a lot of physics and science behind it that I truly do not understand. I had like the big Bible book because I was like, okay, I want to know more. So I bought the book. It's like this. It's pure like physics, science. I was like, this is not my jam. So I then put the book away and learned. I did like one certificate in it to get a bit more knowledge, but I was like, I'm not going to teach this, but I know it for me, for my kids, and I thought it was interesting. And then I had a coach come and I actually gave her all my books because she's brilliant, and she's very logical, and this is, you know, she's a high up executive in like a bank. This is like her jam, and this is how she understands the world. And so she's actually my expert now. Now she's an expert. She's all certified and in my company, but she explains it really well. But we always say, like, even in terms of your human design or any information that somebody provides you about you, it's an invitation. Be curious. Allow yourself to take what you need and what feels aligned and to release the rest. But just be very curious. Allow it to be an invitation to just notice what is and what isn't. None of it is black and white. Nothing is. Everything's kind of on a spectrum if you really think of it. So we always say that, and I think I think it's really important, like you said, especially with all the information on Instagram right now, with, you know, AI and ChatGPT, which we love as entrepreneurs. Let's not apologize for using it.
I use it all the time.
Right?
I use it all the time.
Absolutely.
It's scaring me every day I do, though.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Can I give a tip that I just asked ChatGPT to do for me? I put the link to my Instagram, and I said, go to my Instagram and do a marketing audit for me and tell me exactly what I'm missing and, you know, what I can do to improve it. And then you tell it what it is, right? So you're, you know, a world-class marketing expert. It was brilliant. I was like, I did not know that ChatGPT could do that.
Go do that right
Little
after this.
business tip for you.
Yeah. It's all about the prompts, right? Like the people that, so ChatGPT is the new Google, right? So everybody uses ChatGPT or some form of AI search function, and some people use it to like make funny pictures of their dog. But if you learn how to prompt it properly, that's the competitive advantage, right?
Absolutely.
That's where you can really kind of start to build on it and do something special, like having a marketing auditor for you, right? You would have paid tons of money in the past for a consultant to come in and look at your social media and give you advice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's brilliant. You know, I actually just did a podcast on my other podcast, which is Moms with Concussions. And I have
that's niche.
It's niche because experiencing a concussion and a brain injury is hard, and actually women and men present in very different ways, and their healing journeys are very different. More research is coming out about that. And I had the honor of speaking at the Brain Injury Association conference and in other areas. But one thing that I said in my podcast was like, it is such a great tool too to help you, especially as a parent or somebody who is healing. Like, ChatGPT is your friend. You have an assistant now, so like, don't write emails to the teacher. Tell ChatGPT what you want to write, and then it will write the email to the teacher for your kids, or all the admin stuff that we have to do as parents, right? And for me, I couldn't look at a screen. Like, I could not look at a screen for 2 years. I was very, very sick. Like, their goal was to make me functional again, not to be able to even fully work. And the fact that now I own 2 businesses is actually why I do nervous system regulation. What I do is because it gave me my life back, honestly, for my kids. But talking about ChatGPT, it was like, you can use it to write those emails and do those admin tasks, and you don't even need to type into it, just talk to it, right? And for somebody who's a solo parent with 2 businesses, like, it's such a gift because it makes my momming tasks so much easier. Like grocery lists, like, why are you writing a grocery list? ChatGPT will do it for you. Like, I think that's the advantage, is how smart can we be with our time. Anyway, so that's, but it helped with my healing as well in terms of less screen time.
So we're going so off the
I
beaten
know.
path here, which is okay. Like, I love where we're
Bring
going.
it back.
Yeah.
I'm first. I want to ask a question that's going to make it go deeper down the rabbit hole, and then you can bring it back.
There's no coming back
Yeah.
after this.
So you're obviously very spiritual. I'm really curious about this whole mapping who you are based on your date of birth and all that kind of stuff. Do you believe in like tarot card reading, psychics, like all that kind of stuff? Is that like almost too far on the spectrum of like, is there kind of a point where you're like, yeah, no, we're not going there?
Ooh, that's a great question. Yes, I do. I believe there's nothing I won't believe. It's like the more I learn, the more I realize I know nothing. And so
Did you believe before?
I was interested and I'd be like, yeah, let's go to psychic. It'll be fun. Now it's more, I think, real to me. But I would be really intentional in terms of who I'm talking to. Like seeing a psychic, and this is just me, seeing a psychic that's going to tell you your whole future, that doesn't feel aligned with me. And like connecting with my spiritual mentor, that's not what,
I've had that happen.
And it worked.
Like a psychic that guessed, I think it was like 5 things
back to back.
back
I think
to back
it's possible
over the course of 2 years.
I just don't know if I want to see another one, but I actually saw one right before COVID, and she also told me she told me I was going to get separated, and she was like, "Oh, you're getting a divorce." I was like, "No, I'm not." I didn't even tell her I was married, and she was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "No, like I'm married," and she was like, "Mm-hmm." She told me I was going to start a business. She told me, and like completely different than teaching, and I was like, oh, what is she talking about? She like came and told me I had an injury, and I was like, no, I don't. And then later I had that injury. Like it was so random.
Yeah.
But I don't.
So she nailed it.
She did nail it. So I do believe it.
Yeah.
Now it's more, I think, in terms of like oracle cards and things like that. I'm just more intentional in terms of like who I'm speaking to.
Fuck, I had that experience just like a month ago. It was actually the event that I met Ariel at.
Oh, okay.
So we were at, it was a job I was working. It was a festival called Jingles and Jinxes, which was basically a spooky Christmas festival, like a Christmas market.
With Vlatka.
Yeah,
too.
with Vlatka. Yeah, that's right. So I'm there, and one of the ladies that comes to our mocktail booth, she was running the tarot card booth. And I like joking around with people and stuff. So I was like, how many beers can I trade you for a tarot card reading? And then she was a nice lady, and she's like, give me a 6-pack and we'll call it a day.
That's amazing.
But she was joking. But then it was really slow, like later on the second day, like we were getting close to 10 p.m. So I kind of go over to her tarot tent, and I was like, how about that 6-pack? She's like, all right, fuck, whatever, come in. So then she does my tarot card reading. It was so fucking bang on.
Cool.
Like it was like, and it was kind of like what I needed in that moment, right? Like because I'm going through this like weird like decision in my life, and like she just fucking nailed it. Like the cards just nailed it exactly how I was feeling and what I needed to get past it. And like I'm not an expert on like the 10 card system, but all of them just kind of like made a lot of sense. And I kind of went into it saying, if I get bad cards, I'll be like, I don't believe it. If I get good cards, I'll be like, yep, shit's real. Right. So I got a lot of good cards, and I was like, but it was kind of like what I needed in that moment. And it felt kind of like a really good validation of like where I'm at and what's going on.
I think for me, my biggest belief with all of this came when I became a Reiki practitioner. So I became an energy healer.
Okay. That's what Reiki stands for, is energy healing?
Well, there's different forms, but Reiki is a very specific practice, and you have to have an attunement, and you have to become certified as a practitioner. And I had experienced this form of healing when I was going through my separation and when I was really struggling. And then when I experienced my brain injury, there's tons of healing properties that come with it. And some insurance companies are actually starting to cover it. And so I said I want to become a practitioner. So I did become a certified, and now I do Reiki out of my house. I have clients, and it's part of my coaching. And the things that have come through and the gifts that I've don't generally talk about, like I don't say like, I'm an intuitive, come hire me. But I realize that we're all intuitives. They're just gifts that we develop. Like we all have that gift. And so as I started to really focus on these gifts, more downloads came, or more messages came, or for my clients and things like that. And sometimes we'll pull cards, and it got to a point where I was like, you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. But not everybody's ready to hear it. And it's also respecting that some people don't feel like they want to necessarily enter that world right now. And that's also okay.
Yeah.
So my clients know that, you know, I carry and continue to develop intuitive gifts. It's not necessarily something that I put on my Instagram. But that's so when you experience those types of experiences that I have with my clients, it's like you can't make that shit
You
up.
can't deny it almost, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
So can you explain how your coaching business works? Because you were talking about how you're coaching with dance, but also this whole side of things.
Yeah.
So how does that all intertwine?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so that's where like I think that our creative worlds kind of lead us into other things, because actually a lot of my coaching clients come from my dance clients. Dance, I started doing like a lot of healing workshops, breath work, embodiment. It was just, I started doing these healing workshops that people would leave and they'd be like, oh my God, I feel completely different, like a different person. And so then fast forward to my car accident, actually. And then I, you know, was like, do I still want to be teaching? But like, I want to go into life coaching. I don't know why that came. It was never something I had ever thought of. And so it kind of merged the two, because already I was doing healing embodiment workshop and breath work through movement. And now I was pulling in more the trained ICF certified training within that. So neurolinguistic programming, EFT tapping, more modalities that help us clear what talk therapy won't necessarily do, because through movement, that is my comfort zone, is actually helping people get back into their bodies. And then research is now showing that in terms of healing, a bottom-up approach is going to be more helpful. So for instance, you're going and you're trying to get over something that's really difficult. Mindset alone isn't necessarily going to help you, because all of the experiences are in your body. 80% of the messages we receive come from our body, right? So everything is that all the messages you're getting are from there. And so if we start there, we can clear from there, then we do a lot more healing. So that's where they both kind of came together. And so now I do have my dance company where I do movement healing, where I do sensual movement, where I do gigs, I do music videos, I do embodiment workshops, and I do residencies, like the healing storytelling residency we're doing this weekend. And then my coaching side, it's a different business, but sometimes they cross paths. There's like a bridge between them.
Yeah, because you might have like someone that you cross paths with on the creative side that, you know, just through conversation get to know some of the things that you do on your coaching side, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. And then they become a client.
And that's actually how most of my clients come in, actually, is from these, like I did dance, like movement for moms, like a dance class for moms, because community for moms is so important, and dancing and movement and getting back into your body. And then some of those women would come to me for then coaching, because they're like, hey, I felt so safe in my body. I've never felt like that.
Yep.
What else do you have? So then it kind of connects in both ways. And then my coaching side is more, you know, it started turning into business coaching for women and things like that. So they're different, and there's kind of
Do you do this out of your home? Do you have a physical studio?
So my garage, I turned into a dance studio.
Oh, nice.
So it's like, and it's a big garage. It's a 3-car.
Is it called Le Garage?
It's called the garage.
Get out of here.
It's literally called the garage. I'm not joking.
But not in French.
No.
Not Le Garage. But somebody suggested it, and I was like, do I do it? And I was like, no, I need
Fucking
to.
do
It
it.
ends with La Compagnie de Danse, because, so it's called the garage for creatives. So I'll do dance, my one-on-ones or small rehearsals from my garage. And then my front office is turned into a Reiki room. So it's a full Reiki room where people can come for that. And then my upstairs is my office, because a lot of them I'll do through Zoom. I have clients all around the world, so that's the easiest way to do it. Or I'll do corporate wellness and things like that, so it's easier.
One thing I want to kind of tie back to something, you know, that I think is relatable to anybody in the event space or any entrepreneur is the value of being involved in different things from a networking perspective, right? So like, I think like, even if you look at something as simplistic as what we're doing right now, like the podcast, if you look back at season 1, the funny thing is I can point to follow-up interactions with every single one of those people from a business standpoint, after having them on to just have a conversation or whatever, you know, and that kind of, it happened organically. That wasn't necessarily the reason we bring them on, is to like say, okay, we're bringing them on because we want to have some kind of a business interaction after this, but it happens that way, right?
100%.
Because you're introducing yourself to new people and you're being vulnerable, right? Like you're having these like open conversations, you're building trust. And I'm sure that's what you experience, like when you're doing things like a mom dance, which is like a very vulnerable thing to do, right? And some of these women are probably their first time kind of getting out there, and now you become that like point of contact for them and that point of trust. Well, we do a lot of that in our own businesses, right? So, you, for instance, Paul, I'm sure work with clients that, they're putting all of their trust in your hands for the video for their wedding. And, some of your clients become your friends, and then they become, business contacts after their wedding and things like that, right?
That's the beauty of the unknown path.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people will often say that aren't necessarily maybe in this world, they're gonna be like, why are you doing that? Well, like, it's not making you money. Why are you spending so much time doing that? And you're like,
it might one day.
Yeah. And it's building that community and that connection and that networking. And one thing always leads to next.
Yeah.
Right. And there is such a value in those moments. And especially if you're somebody who's meant, and this is your human design, right? Some people are meant to be creating the impact that they're here to create through community. And so knowing that about yourself and going like, oh, this is why this is so important to me, also gives you permission to lead within your business the way that you're kind of meant to.
You're right? Like there's nothing, at least for me, one of the most rewarding parts of doing something like Fail Fast, for instance, where we bring 100 people into a room that, some of them know each other, some of them don't, is seeing the connections that get built after, even if they're not a connection with us, but kind of seeing on social media that person that met at our event is now doing business together, or they're just friends or whatever. That's really cool to see, right? And like to know that you kind of had a hand in creating that and building that community outwardly is really, really rewarding, right?
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And like we always talk about the definition of wealth, right? Like wealth isn't money. But money can come with wealth, and it's also okay to want money, because the more money you have, the bigger impact you can have. And somebody's going to make the money. It might as well be you who's going to have a positive impact and do something positive with it. So I always say, especially for women, we have this guilt around making money because I can swear on this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, wait. But we're always like, look at the movies. It's always the rich bitch. Right? You look at the movies, like the Hallmark movies. Oh, well, she's rich, but she's so unhappy. So then she goes to the small town to become happy again and like leaves all the money. Like for women, there's a lot of limiting beliefs that comes with making money and guilt. And for everyone, but like
it does
that's
corrupt
something.
A lot of people though.
It can, for sure. But that's why it's like, do I let them make money, or do I allow myself to receive and to make money? It's not my sole purpose. It's heart-led. But if I can create an impact and make a lot of money so I can continue to make that impact, I might as well not feel guilty about it.
So the other thing that's kind of part of this conversation that I don't think gets talked enough about is, and it's becoming more prevalent with women, starting to have the ability to make more money easier, is as a man, when you make a lot of money, you don't have to worry about emasculating your partner. Whereas women probably have that guilt, and even if it's not justified, of, hey, I'm now making double the income of my husband. How is that going to play out in terms of our relationship?
For sure.
Right? And I do think that there's probably some men out there that if they have a partner that, gets into a lot of money creation quickly, like overnight with, a TikTok or something, or Instagram famous, and you start monetizing it, that probably feel a type of way about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like having that conversation with your partner. And like, I have a lot of friends who make actually more money than their husbands or their partners. And it's like your partner, or as a man, you can support the woman in your life or your partner within the masculine kind of energy in so many different ways. It's safety, it's support, it's right. There's so many other ways that you can support your partner in that way. My coach built like $1 million company, and her husband ended up retiring and working for her within her company. And it was, so I think
I'd love that.
It's right. So I think we fear that there's that going to be that imbalance if she's making more money. What does this mean about
my wife too? She was making more money than me when I started this business. I got laid off from my job at COVID. Joe had a job at the bank. She was making pretty good money, but I was the one who's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go venture off and try my own thing.
Yeah.
Which is all right, man.
You
but
know,
yeah,
it works out at the end, and
Yeah.
she was supportive, and I was trying to do my part as well. So,
But I think you're right, and we talked about this on another podcast recently. Actually, we talked about this on Haley's podcast. I was just on Haley's Uplift Lifestyle podcast,
cool.
and we were talking about masculine, feminine energy.
Oh, okay.
And that is one of the topics that came up. Is, you know, how can you as a man tap into your feminine, but then also how can women that are in these powerful positions making lots of money remember to tap into their feminine, because they're living in this masculine energy, right? Like, you think of female CEOs and stuff, you have to be locked in and you have to be in this, like, you know, very masculine energy to be in that world. When you go back home, it's sometimes hard to like switch, right? And to go back into that. And maybe that's where they get into trouble with their partners.
Yeah,
where they're still very in that masculine, right? So
I experienced this. I was very in my masculine. And as I'm like in like a new kind of partnership, it was just like, how did we balance this? And our masculine energies were kind of like bumping into each other.
Yeah.
And it was, and I think it's because I'm like a solo mom, entrepreneur. I'm like, go, go, go. Like, you know, I have to step into that role
consciously
more.
Though, like
I had to, and it's asking for help. It's opening yourself up to receive, as like stepping into your feminine energy. It's like asking for the help without needing to feel guilty about it, asking for your partner's help and allowing them to help you and allowing them to support you and allowing yourself to melt and allowing them to then take the lead in other ways, allowing them to lead you in so many other ways. And there's so many ways of doing that. Like, in tiny ways, like just really starting for us to kind of soften and for them to say, like, I'm going to decide what we're doing for dinner tonight. I'm going to decide where we're going. Or like the littlest moments in the everyday.
Guys are idiots though.
Yeah, but like that's where the conversation,
like,
and that's where as women we get to go, I would love for you to choose tonight. We don't have to be like, oh, you didn't choose. Like, I need you to choose. We get to go, I would just love it if you chose for us tonight, and invite him. We always get to invite them in.
It's not about what you're saying; it's how you say it.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, you need to talk to my wife.
We should have our wives on the next podcast.
We should have our wives just sitting
Cynthia.
over there.
No. I don't think so. I feel like they're doing this fine. Don't get me in trouble.
We can't have any of that.
Yeah. No, but I think it's a balance, and I think it's an open conversation. But it is I struggle with. You know, I said to like my partner, I was like, I'm going to sit down. That was my way of saying I'm going to step into my feminine. I was like, I'm going to sit down energetically. And his answer was like, I've been trying to get you to sit down for a while. And I was like, yeah, I know. And it's hard. It's really hard, especially as we've gotten, like, especially me being just me and having to be in charge of all the finances and everything in the household for myself and my kids. Yeah. It doesn't feel safe for me to be in my feminine. And that's where like even nervous system regulation comes in. As you do transition into that balance, your nervous system's going to be dysregulated because it doesn't feel safe.
Right.
And so how can you apply those tools to train your body to feel safe within your feminine or your masculine?
Right. Are we doing a speed round?
I can come up with one real quick.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, God, I'm scared.
All right, so one of the things that we like to do,
this.
and that we started in season 2, is a speed round. So Paul's going to throw some questions at you.
As short as possible, the answers.
Yeah, short as possible.
Just get to it.
Oh,
First, I'm
God, I like to talk a lot.
Questions
Okay.
at you,
First thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Here we go.
First thing you do when you wake up.
Coffee.
Go-to hype song before a performance. Okay, what do you do before a performance?
Well, it's probably the song that I'm going to perform to.
Just going over and over and
yeah,
over.
honestly, that's what, like, example, residency that I'm doing this weekend, that's what I was listening to on the way here. I was like, what do I need to hype myself up? So whatever I'm performing to, for
Do
sure.
you go to sleep thinking about it too?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most unexpected lesson entrepreneurship taught you?
The word that came through was trust. Just trust. No logic, trust.
Not to trust or to trust?
To trust.
Okay.
Less logic, more trust.
I love that.
See, I've been on the opposite side of that.
I know. I've been telling you. Just trust me, buddy.
I trust you, but maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, I know. Maybe.
Dance style that best describes your personality?
Ooh.
Heels.
Oh, I would have said booty popping.
I was going to say booty work. But then I was like heels. Yeah.
Crystals or candles?
Candles.
Biggest ick in the coaching world.
Dissing other coaches, like dissing other people to make your coaching look better.
Okay.
Okay.
It happens a lot. I don't like it.
Funniest DM you've ever received?
It's probably a dick pic.
No, I haven't received those.
Everyone gets every woman.
You get dick pics too?
I have
God.
once actually. I'm not gonna lie.
You got a dick pic?
I have.
Damn.
Yeah.
Love
It's like the DM comments, period. Like, don't send a woman a DM in the middle of the night. Like, I'm not, no. Or like being a dancer, you just get DMs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Stop DMing us. We don't want them.
Yeah, like unsolicited DMs.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll message you if I'm
I think that's
interested,
how I
thank you.
contacted you, though. I think I DM'd you.
Yeah, well, it was different. Your
Yeah,
intention was different.
That was a
It
business
a
relationship.
business
It's like,
move,
do you want
yeah.
to go for coffee? It didn't have any ulterior motives.
And I also know you, and it wasn't at like 3:00 in the morning.
It
And if
wasn't.
it was because you were probably working.
Probably.
Yeah, not
yeah.
drunk. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Good point.
don't DM them.
Yeah.
Dream collab. Any brand, any person. Go.
Dream collab. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I don't know if I'm thinking of coaching or dance. This is not
Could be either.
Paris Goebel.
Could
Oh
be
my
either.
God.
Paris Global. Okay, I think we've heard this name before today, and I've never heard that name before.
Okay, so Justin Bieber, the Sorry music video.
Yeah.
You know how there were dancers? She was the choreographer, but that music video made dancers come more to the front rather than being backup dancers.
Okay.
And then if you notice, dance became huge, right? TikTok too. But she is a brilliant choreographer. She did all of the Savage Fenty fashion shows. She's Rihanna's choreographer, J-Lo's choreographer, like everyone. And she's just brilliant. She's also changed, like, dancers don't need to be super skinny. Like, we all have studio trauma, and it's honoring our bodies in whichever way, form, they move, whatever. And she's just a powerhouse. So her.
Nice.
All right, I've got one more question to ask.
Go for it.
Save the Last Dance or Honey?
Honey.
Honey. Okay.
Hands down, no questions asked. Jessica Alba. Yeah.
Last time you totally bombed something.
Ooh.
Momming every day. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not bombing something, like, right? Like, if you're not screwing up all the time.
Okay, that's a cop-out.
But okay, fine. Probably a momming moment. Okay, this is what's coming through. This is my mom guilt. Mateo, this is a mom thing. Mateo's Easter egg hunt for school. I was 45 minutes late because I thought it started 45 minutes later. And I was so stressed out, and he was kind of consoling me in the car. He was like, "It's okay, Mom." And I was like, "I am so sorry, buddy.
That's
I really
nice.
am."
Yes.
And then we got there, and most people were not there on time. So I didn't need to stress out. But I felt like I bombed momming that day.
So I think that's a little bit of recency effect. So this just happened this weekend?
Yeah, I felt
Okay,
so
so
bad.
recency effect. Let's go back to like your professional bomb.
I mean, there are times where I've completely forgot dances on stage, like completely, and
That's my
arms are
worst
just,
nightmare.
Yeah,
Do you
it
completely
happens all
forget
the
to
time.
dance on stage?
I used to dance.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, you were a ballet dancer. How come that
This is
just
so
come out
amazing.
this podcast?
I just have.
I vote a dance session
off?
one day. Yeah, can we do some ballet after this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna just
I
No,
choreographed a ballet piece today.
I literally still have nightmares to this day being on stage, not knowing what I'm supposed to do.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
like the worst nightmare.
Did
I
it
have.
happen?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it
So
never
you always
happened.
nailed
No,
it.
it's like showing up to school in your underwear or something.
Oh, I
You know what
went.
mean?
Yeah, I went on stage like not even a year ago, and one of the girls was really sick, and so she couldn't perform that day, and so I had to take her place. And one of the
There you
moves, I
go.
had to then switch the way that I went, and I practiced it. I was like, okay, but then on stage, I went the way that I'm used to going, and I bumped into people. It was kind of a
Yeah.
disaster.
Yeah.
No one noticed but me. And then other things in coaching, I don't know, probably ran like coaching things, and no one showed up. Like that just happens sometimes,
Yeah.
and.
See, I'm curious about that because that's always been something where I think there's a lot of people now trying to monetize like the coaching aspect of like any business, but then you'll like run an event and you just want to get people signed up, and has it happen? Like I feel like that'd be so embarrassing if like one person shows up.
Yeah. I've had it maybe online. Like I remember working so hard to like promote my first program, and I think there were like 2 people that showed up online, and I was partly mortified, and then part of me was like, well, these are the 2 people that I was meant to show up, and I'm going to give them everything I got. And I think that that's something that the coaching industry often promises, like sign up with me and you're going to make $1 million tomorrow and you're going to have all these clients. And it's like, actually it's a process.
Years.
Like it's not just this overnight fix that we're all wanting. And so I think
And
that
was it
that's a
rewarding for
deeper
those
thing.
2 people that showed up?
It was. And then they became my clients. And then I learned so much from that. And then I continued to build. And I think it makes me so grateful for having now filled up programs. But it took those times where like it became more and more people each time. But I didn't start with like 30 people. Actually,
Right.
my first one was a free event. So there was a decent amount of people. But my first paid workshop online was less. And
That's a big jump, right? Going from, hey, I'm giving you like free value to now give me a little bit of money.
yeah, it
And
was
then
different.
there's a lot of people that drop off, right?
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. So
And like even like fail fast, right? Like it's sometimes hard, right? Because like especially now the economy the way it is, like we're asking people to, pay $47, which isn't a tremendous amount of money, but it's also not like $10,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we do that kind of on purpose because like if you pay $47 to go somewhere,
You're taking it seriously.
you're gonna
Yes,
go, right?
yeah.
Whereas if I like pay $10 to go somewhere, something better might pop up
Yeah.
that day, and I'll
And
be like, it's $10,
energetically, you're
right?
going with a different energy.
Yeah.
Right? There's
Yeah,
more of an
it's people who
appreciation
are
because
there
it feels
to-
like a fair
Yeah.
value exchange. Like
Yeah.
it's different. Yeah, definitely.
And what
agree
we
with
try to
that.
do with those events is really like pump it with the value, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not only are you getting exposed to like two fantastic speakers and sometimes more, we're trying to build in a really cool experience.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to build in like, Paul does free professional headshots
cool.
at the beginning, like the first hour that people show up. So, that's huge right there is $47 to get
Yeah.
headshots somewhere, right? So,
sure.
so you got to try to like pull people in certain ways, but we feel really confident in the value. But there's still been times where like you never know what happens on a certain, like last one was a great example. We were expecting like well over 100 people. We had two professional athletes like Mark Hominick and Rob Schremp, a professional hockey player. So we're like, oh, we're gonna get lots of activity. Just so happened that the day that we picked was the day of the World Nations Cup hockey fucking tournament thing between Canada and the U.S. And the stars aligned that it was at that same time that our guys were going up to do like the headline speech was when the game was starting. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. So
Right?
all the hockey people. Yeah, that's
So, we had a lot of people show up, but a lot of people filtered out halfway through. Because they're like, we're not missing this fucking hockey game.
Yeah,
Right.
brutal.
And we knew it was going to happen. Like, we didn't know when we booked the event, but we knew leading up to it, like when the games were happening, we're like, we're going to get hit with this, and we're going to just have to absorb the shock and see where it lands. Right. So.
Well, and I think that this is where it's like, okay, you know what? In any event that we're holding, we play to win. Like you're always playing with the best intention, like
Yep.
you know it's going to work and having that power behind it.
Yep.
And then releasing any attachment to the outcome. I think that that's like, I read a book, Dr. Shefali, she's one of my favorite writers, and she just says like the greatest source of our suffering really is our attachment to the outcome.
Yeah.
The day of, I feel like. You got to care up to the day.
The day
Yeah.
of,
It's like,
exactly. So you play to
enjoy
win.
the event, but like up until like the day before or even the morning of, we're going hard.
Exactly.
We're like,
You're playing full out like you know it's going to work.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right? Because if you feel like if I put in the effort, I know this is going to work and you
Yep.
believe in what it is that you're offering, then it's going to work exactly how it's meant to.
Sure.
And you know that you like did everything you can, and then it's releasing the attachment to the outcome because at that point it's like kind of out of your hands,
Yeah.
you know?
No, for sure.
But yeah.
Awesome.
that's
So we're
too
getting
bad.
close to the end of the
No,
podcast.
last question.
Oh, you
Come
there
on,
is-
here.
okay.
There's
buddy.
one more.
I didn't know there was
I wasn't
one.
good at this. Like my questions were
But I love
all
that.
over the
I love
place.
that we went into another topic off of one of your
I know,
questions.
that's the
though.
point.
That was awesome.
A little bit. Not really.
That was great. I liked it.
Best piece of advice you've ever ignored?
Ooh.
Oh wow, this is a question I asked my clients for neurolinguistic programming. But like funny that I don't know how to answer it. The best piece of advice I've ever ignored.
You might not anymore, but something you should have.
I don't know if
taken
it's advice or it's a quote, but I wish I remembered it or like I applied it more, is that every thought is a prayer. And so if you can really reflect more on your thoughts, like if you can just stop yourself within those thoughts and just challenge the thoughts as they come and become more aware of them, then we can reframe really quickly. And I think things would have been a little bit easier for me. And another one, I'm going to say another one actually because it's coming through, is that it gets to be easy. Like if you pretend that everything's easy. And I actually ignored that advice for a long time. And now I'm like, wait, but I applied it the other night and it actually really worked. It's like if you're in a situation where you're really stressed, like all the mom overwhelm, and it's just like, right, and you're a business owner and you have all these things and you're like, okay, but what if I stopped being stressed in this moment? I just said, this is easy. This just gets to be easy. And it's like the simplest advice. And I don't know if I ever fully took it until like literally 3 days ago. And I applied it today again. And I was like, this is great advice. So I'm sure I'll think of a better answer after this, but that's what came through. It gets to be easy.
Love it.
Yeah.
Any more questions, Paul?
No.
Okay. All right. So we are getting to the end of the podcast. So what I would like you to just share with us is kind of what's next for Cynthia over the next kind of 12 months. It doesn't have to be, super defined, but kind of like what is your focus for this year? And then once you kind of cap that off, just share kind of how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for having me, by the way. It's such an honor because I know that this is just a brilliant podcast and space and how you guys do everything in London. So thank you again for having me, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
And, I think my big goals for the year are quite big. I've started writing a book, which I've actually started 2, and I'm like kind of going back and forth. It'll take a little while, but my goal is to get through them this year, so I at least have a skeleton for both. Realistically, one's for moms with concussions, and the other one is for Unique Femme. And it's kind of pulling my business inside of it, and then it's pulling my experience as a mom with concussion. And the big goal is to have a lot of more in-person events. So we are looking to build an event for women to help them step back into their bodies and really build kind of the life of their dreams by embodying what that would feel and look like. And so we're planning that, which will hopefully happen in the fall. And that's a big one for me because we're hoping to make it a full day event. Lots of collaborations. Like that's what I want, is to continue to collaborate with other people in the city so that we can continue to build London. And that togetherness. And then in terms of movement, it's going to be a lot of workshops. So there's a lot of things now that, I'm done the residency. By the time this is being aired, I will be done, our big projects. It's going to be focusing on coaching. It's going to be focusing on in-person events and a lot of collaborations that are happening this year. And then you can find me on Instagram at coach.cynthia.a. Hold on.
You want to do that again?
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at coach.cynthia.a. And you can also find the dance company at la compagnie.de danse. Danse in French is spelled with an S, not a C. Or you can go to cynthiacoaching.com and find me there. Or you can find me at Oni Dance Center dancing. And if you're ever looking for a drop-in dance class, we have ballet, I'm just saying. You can come to Oni Dance Center and we'd love to have you.
Is there an Instagram handle for Unique Femme as well?
There is an Instagram handle. So we have at the Unique Femme. Okay. And then I've got my podcast, Moms with Concussions. And then we also have the Unique Femme podcast, which is coming out in May, at the end of May. And we have incredible women. Like we've got Megan on the podcast. I have Haley. I have Saidat coming onto the podcast. I'm missing incredible women that are on there, but it's.
I don't think we're going to get an invite to that one.
You never know. Never say never. Never say. Unique Femme is more around feminine energy. We all have feminine energy.
We do. Yeah. Well, it was funny. I was saying to Haley on the last podcast, on her podcast, that I really embrace my feminine energy at home, and Katrina, my wife, always laughs at me because she's very much kind of the traditional guy in the relationship where she doesn't like talking about her feelings like at all. Mm-hmm. And she's like totally like, the fuck, like ick, stop talking about like how you feel. And like I'm the one that's just like, this is how I feel, right? She's like, stop. So yeah, I would say that if there was ever a good fit as a male on your podcast, it'd probably be me.
Oh, they're perfect. It also depends on your sign, right? Like is she a Virgo or a Capricorn?
Okay, actually let's end with that. Can you do that whole thing with one of us, or like do you need more time? Like
I would need like your birth time and your birthday and your time of birth, and then we would have to put it like into a system, and then it would tell us. So if we Google it really quickly,
I also don't know my birth time.
So you need your birth time or around your birth time.
Okay.
So like I know, but it's honestly, it's been amazing because I know my kids too, and it's helped me be like parent them in a way that they need. It's
that's
honestly
interesting.
really magical. Yeah,
Awesome.
It's really helpful.
Well, I love how organic this podcast was and how, we spoke a little bit about entrepreneurship, business, but mostly about, how to move energy around in the right place and kind of where that's taken you in your journey. And so thanks for joining us on season 2.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers.